Alright, welcome to another homework video here. In this one in chemistry we're going to be looking at the ionic compounds with polyatomic ions. You probably watched and done the video with making formulas for ionic compounds where you have a metal plus a non-metal, but here now the non-metal portion and sometimes the metal portion is going to give you a polyatomic ion. Okay, and so let's have a look here what we've got. Well, we've got a lot of different polyatomic ions over here. Some of these you'll have to memorize. If you're very, very lucky, you'll get a little chart in the exam, but most often than not, you have to memorize some common ones, and we'll identify those in a second. But a polyatomic ion is just an ion made up of many atoms. So as you can see here, we've got a sulfate ion. We've got S as the main atom in the middle, and then it says we've got 4 here, we've got 4 oxygens. So there they are, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we can represent that polyatomic ion in many different ways. So we can draw it like this. We can draw it like this, and when you do senior chemistry, you'll look into more drawing your structures like that. We can do a space filling model like this, and so you can see the sulfur in the middle, and it's surrounded by 4 oxygens. And then of course you can have this one here, which just shows you a little bit more about the type of bonds. So this is a single bond, and this is a double bond. So this is all different ways of representing what a sulfate is, but at the end of the day, all it is, it's a collection of atoms joined together that move around as one complete unit, and they have an overall charge. In this instance, the sulfate ion has a 2- charge. Now you can see a new word here, anion. Well, in chemistry, we call anions are those ions that had a negative charge. So ions that have a negative charge. Okay, they're called anions. And then the ones that have a positive charge are called cations. And I remember it like this. All right, we draw a cat. It has eyeballs like positive. Okay, and there's our cat, right? And so cation. Okay, and so anything that has a positive charge is a cation. So we can have sodium as a cation, we can have magnesium as a cation, we can have beryllium as a cation. So any of these will do. So when we make ionic compounds, they can be very simple ionic compounds such as sodium chloride, right? So we've got a sodium and we've got a chloride ion, and we've only got one of each, so really the formula for that is just NaCl. And that's what we've learnt so far. But now, because we understand about a polyatomic ion, then we can make formulas with that. And we're going to do that in this video. Before I go to the next slide though, let's have a look at the different types of polyatomic ions. We can have a nitrate, which is NO3 1-, and that's one that most people will tend to memorize. So let's just highlight the ones that are most common. Then we have a hydroxide. So that's OH-. Okay, and then we have another one that a lot of people memorize, this one here, an acetate ion. And then we have carbonate, sulfate, and then we have phosphate, and then we have the cation, which is ammonium. So they're the main sort of ones that people tend to memorize, and as you get more and more familiar with chemistry and you move up the ranks, you start memorizing the other ones as well, and before you know it, you have them all memorized. So let's write some formulas. So let's see. Let's say I was to give you barium and I was to give you nitrate. Okay, so how do you find the charge of barium? Well, you've got to look at your periodic table. Hopefully you've got one there in front of you, and you'll notice it's a 2+ charge because it's in the second group, and nitrate has a -1, so there it is, -1. Now we can cross our charges here, so the 2 goes down to the bottom of the nitrate, and the 1 goes down to the bottom of the barium. So that would be Ba, then we have NO3. Now here, if I put a 2 there, looks like 32, doesn't it? And we don't have 32 nitrates. So what we do is we put a bracket around the nitrate, and the 2 goes on the outside, telling us we need 2 of everything that's inside the bracket. Because if we think about it another way, right, so if we know the barium is 2+, and we know that nitrate is NO3-, at the end of the day we need a compound that's neutral. So if I have a 2+ over here, to balance it, I'm going to need a 2-, aren't I? Well, how do we get 2 negatives? Well, if this is 1 negative, then really we just need another nitrate. And so now there's our 1 negative, there's our 2 negatives. So it's saying for every 1 barium we need 2 nitrates. And so that's why I've written it like that. A barium, bracket, put a nitrate in the middle, close the bracket, and then put a 2 on the outside. And that is the formula for barium nitrate. Let's do one more. So let's say we have sodium. And remember, sodium is in group 1 of the periodic table, and they all have a valency of 1+. And let's say I was going to mix that with phosphate. And so phosphate is like that. So we put the 3 down to the bottom of the sodium, and the 1 goes over here. So that means we have Na3PO4, and that's our formula there. When there's a 1, we don't need to worry about putting a 1 around the phosphate, because it's either there or it's more than that. So that's how you do the formulas there. Now on this page here, I have got quite a few for you to practice. So I want you to pause the video, practice them out, and then we'll come back and we'll mark it very quickly before we finish up. All right, so how did you go? Let's have a quick little mark and see how we go. So we've got magnesium. You probably found out that magnesium has a charge of 2+. Sulfate has got a charge of 2-, so they just balance each other out. We only need 1 of each, so we have magnesium sulfate. Then we have sodium, charge of 1+. There it is. And now we have to go, okay, well this 3 needs to go down to the bottom of the sodium to give us 3. And because there's only 1 here, we just write in the phosphate. What about beryllium? Well, beryllium is 2+. And this is 2- for carbonate, so they cancel each other out. We only have 1 of each. There it is. Potassium is 1+, and sulfate is 2-, so the 2- goes down to the bottom of the potassium, and then we only have 1 there, so we just write sulfate. Then we have copper, and then we have the acetate ion. Well, that's 2+, and this is 1-, so the 1- goes down to the copper. You don't really see it. And then the 2+, we need to put a bracket around these and put the 2 on the outside, which is what we've got there. Then we have 2+ for magnesium. The 2+ goes on the outside of the hydroxide, just like that. Sodium, 1+, 1-, they're just 1 of each. Then we have the beryllium is 2+, so let's fix that there. It should be 2+. And so that goes on the outside of the nitrate just there. And then we have ammonium dichromate. And so if we have a look here, the 2 has to now go around the outside of the ammonium. So we put brackets around the ammonium and put a 2 there, and then we write our dichromate ion over there. So that's some practice there. If you want some more, check out for the worksheet below and keep doing this until it becomes automatic, and then before you know it, you won't even think about it, you just write it. Okay, see you in the next video.